Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio, no pictures live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast as you're driving along in your car, your truck, or running along in public transport. In this essay, I'd like to talk about how feminism, or radical feminism, call it what you will, has created an imbalance and created a sense of entitlement and infantile attitudes among, not all, but among many women. And in the sort of the context of that overarching topic, to talk about attitudes of self-reliance and avoiding loading oneself up with unnecessary debt. So I'll start off saying that these people that we know, they'd so a few years ago, not long ago, the guy he's got some sort of sales job. He needed to buy another car. He had a car, but it was out of the warranty. It was starting to cost him money to look after it. The cost of keeping it on the road, the maintenance cost of ownership. He thought, well, I need to get a car that's still got a warranty of some sort. He tried to get finance, but they could only get finance for a new car. So he bought kind of an entry-level car, nothing fancy, far from it. But it was shiny, it was new. And his wife, who's not a radical feminist, by the way, his wife decided, well, if he can have a new car, and everyone's umming and ahhing over it, and he's a big, big tough guy and with his buddies and everything, why can't I have a new car? And then when I go to work, and they both work, people can fuss over me, and my girlfriends can say, oh, wow, you got a new car, isn't that wonderful? Why should he be the one that gets fussed over and admired and so on? I want some of that adoration as well. Now, she had a car that was fine, and she only used it to go to and from work, whereas the guy had some sort of sales job, so it was like a tool of the trade, and he gets some sort of like a mileage allowance from his employer and so on. So he kind of needed that. It wasn't just a luxury item that he could go posing on the beachfront or something with. But anyway, he had the shiny new car. She didn't. She felt sort of kind of left out of the loop here. Well, I want one as well. Why can't I have one? And we were sort of privy to some of the comment. He was resisting it, so well, they can't really afford it, and why does she need it anyway? She doesn't need the car. The car she's got is still in some sort of extended warranty thing, and so why do they? But anyway, she pestered him and kind of made his life miserable, and finally he relents. Now she argued, well, I work as well, I make money. Why can't I have a say in things? Why should he have the say and not me? Now he probably makes 65 to 70% of the household income, and so he should have, a primacy of say. You would think he's also far more careful with money than she is. She even concedes that she's careless with money, and she concedes that he is, more careful and prudent with money. Something she likes about him, by the way, or appreciates or admires about him. So anyway, she pesters him until he, fine. I think also she was withholding intimate relations until he gave in. But when finally he gives in and she, oh, fine, then have your new car. She was sort of, I didn't like this. She was, had this smug, gloating grin on her face. Well, I won, I beat him, I won. And I think you don't really want to be in that sort of competitive type, in that sense. You're meant to be pulling together and be a team here. If you're pulling in different directions, you're only going to create problems that shouldn't be there. But that's not a view. I tried some gentle suggestions, and she, no, why can't I have a new car? But she spoke like, as soon as she said, I want this, she spoke like a child. She suddenly became an irresponsible child. And this is what I mean about how feminism has crept into a lot of, she's an infantile, irresponsible child. I want it now, and this sort of thing, and but doesn't want to take responsibility for the consequences of what was clearly a bad decision. Now, she doesn't see that it was a bad decision. I got a nice new car. Look, there it is. Look at that nice new car. Nor was she content, by the way, with an entry level. Once appetite had been whetted. She wanted, the extra bells and whistles, the leather this, the so and so that, and piling on the costs of the car that they needn't have. They had to borrow, go finance for it and so on. And now they're getting close to the edge, with these two new cars. But they're not rich people. They're not making big bucks. He's making more than the average wage, but she's making a little bit less than the average wage. So they're not like they're making big bucks at all. Now it was only through inheritance, as in one of his relatives died. I don't know who it was, that they could even afford to get a house. So now they got the finance when interest rates were probably at the lowest they'd been for a long time, and so with the interest rate rises that came at around the same time as they bought the cars, the budget was under quite a bit of stress. Now at the same time, a few other things went wrong. There was she wanted another lounge suite. I don't remember why. I can't remember what the condition of the other one was. The refrigerator broke down. He wanted to repair it. She wanted a new one with all the bells and whistles. Why did she want that? Because one of her girlfriends had got a new refrigerator with all the bells and whistles, and she wanted one as well to pose. And now again, we don't know them really well, but she was I want a nice new fridge. Why can't I have one? And again, this child sort of thing, that somehow money will magically appear, or my husband will make it appear, but she's not prepared to accept any of the responsibility. She accepts the budget is now really tight with these payments, and but she wants other things to continue, like when they go out for dinner. Well, he doesn't take me anywhere anymore. We used to go out. He doesn't take me anywhere anymore, and does he think I'm not worth it? And that again, she's behaving like a 15, 16-year-old girl. And one with a snotty attitude at that, an entitled snotty attitude. So her sense of entitlement, she equates equality and equity, or she relates equality and equity to entitlement. Equality means I can have what I want whenever I want it. That's how she sort of in her infantile view perceives it. Now they got to a point where they're in sort of serious trouble, but she wants everything bought new. So no, I want it new. Now I've suggested things and I've got to be a bit diplomatic with her because she's easily offended. But I've given clothes that are in excellent condition to the charity shops, for example. They don't fit me anymore or something. But so I suggested, well, have you thought about maybe going, just having a look at the charities, just see what's there, maybe something. No, I'm not doing that. No, that's and so as far as she's concerned, that's below her. That's her dignity would be affronted by that. So she's got this attitude now. They're already the debt collectors are circling, and they're getting the nasty letters of they can't make the payments and so on. Now, interestingly, even though she was, I want equality. Why can't I have a car? Why can't I have this? I want that. I want. But now the debt collectors are circling. She's reversed. Well, not reversed position. She's now, well, what is he doing about it? What is my husband going to do about it? It's his responsibility. He has to fix this. Why can't he make more money? Why do I? My girlfriend's husband makes. Why can't he do it? So she's refusing to accept the response. So she wants equality means I can have whatever I want now. But responsibility, that's him. He has that responsibility. But he was showing that responsibility to you when he was advising that taking on these debts was going to be very difficult, if not unsustainable. Oh, no, that's equality. That's it. So she just can't. And I see this as a modern paradigm that's affecting gender relations. I would think in a big way. And when you look at people past a certain age, they tend to, well, not always be responsible, but tend to have a greater degree of responsibility, or you'd think. But in their case, now he still is responsible. Now I've noticed this even amongst schoolgirls or school kids. A few years ago, or several years ago now, through a local, Department of Commerce, not Department of Commerce, a local district commerce club type thing. was invited to do a careers talk at high school, and so senior high school graduation. So I went along to do that, and I noticed that the girls have the attitude, hey, I just want to marry a rich guy and just live off his money. I mean, this idea of having to work and bust my ass, you've got to be kidding me. And wherever they did, think about work and some sort of career, then they only thought of in terms of entitlement, that they should be gifted well-paying jobs, gifted prestigious positions. The idea of busting your ass and working hard to go places and being prudent and careful with money, no, you've got to be kidding. Are you insane? In fact, some of them sort of sniggered at me when I suggested that's maybe a course they want to consider. So the entitlement things, and even after decades of feminist education, the idea that all it's inculcated in, as far as I can tell, in women is a sense of entitlement. I'm entitled to these good jobs, these well-paying jobs, these exciting jobs, these prestigious jobs, where I'm not accountable or responsible for anything. I can just flit around to little girly dolls' house meetings and pretend to be important and get paid for it, which is what most not all, but what most female jobs are these days. Particularly when you get out of the entry-level administration type jobs. There are some women who do sort of administration jobs in smallish type organizations. They actually do have to do work. So, but in the bigger organizations, there are armies of women who are just all, it's all DEI, affirmative action type employment. Now, coming to this attitude of buying, getting into debt, and the new refrigerator, the new lounge suite, and all the other stuff, and other stuff too that she's wanted, that they've bought, going out for dinner that they can't afford, and those sorts of things. And they are lifestyle more than quality of life issues. Now, around the same time, probably a little bit earlier than when the guy had to buy his new car, which sort of kicked off a chain reaction of things where she wanted to be buying new stuff left, right, and centre. I was taking the view that can you have what you want or need more than want, really, and do you have to pay full price, or should you go into debt for the things that you would want but not that you must have, and separating the two. So the car we had, one of the cars we had, went out of warranty around this time, and as is the case when it seems like the day that the warranty expires, things go wrong with the car. So I took it upon myself to run repairs. Now I'm pretty handy with that, and I've got a full set of tools now, so I can do it. And being self-employed, I have more time than someone who's doing a 9-to-5 job, but I save myself thousands of dollars in repairs. Now, if I couldn't do that, or I didn't have the tools, I've got a couple of $1,000 plus worth of tools, for example. If I had to buy all those sort of brand new, and I had to, that type of thing, I probably would take a different view. But repairs in the car last year would have been several thousand, and I did it for less, buying the parts and my time, but did it for less than $1,000. If I paid the several thousand, the car wouldn't be worth keeping. Now other things, for example, our refrigerator it started to develop problems. The freezer started to ice up, that type of thing, and I am an ad about getting a repair guy out, but it's $100 call out fee and so on. So I looked around, or we looked around at getting a used fridge, and there's a fridge with most of the bells and whistles on it. That's $2,000. You buy it new, and we got it for $300 because an elderly lady had bought, or her kids had bought it for her, and she had to go into a nursing home, and so they were just selling everything. So we picked up a 12-month, a little bit over 12 months old, top of the range, or upper end of the range refrigerator for $300, but also other things, like a trolley for, say, you move house or something, or moving stuff around in the house, heavier stuff, a trolley, and there was a trolley that was at the side of the road, and I had a look at it. Just had a busted bearing, and that's all it was. It was like a $10 bearing, and the thing was fine. So focusing on things like that, and looking at recycling stuff, looking at garage sales and stuff people are chucking out, throwing out, these types of things. And I got a men's bicycle for $10, that sort of thing. So just doing that and making a difference. So you can, if you really put your mind to it, and you need the time, and I do understand that, and the wherewithal, and just being handy. Just, okay, well, I only need a bearing for this. For example, I got like a Total Gym, those Chuck Norris Total Gyms. I got one for $25, and you just needed a couple of bearings. Again, $20, and I had a fully working Total Gym. These sorts of things, and if you're prepared to do that, you can still have the things you need, even some of the things you just want, the things you need, and you can have those without having to go into debt, without having to buy new. But you do need that attitude of self-sufficiency, acquiring the tools, acquiring the know-how, acquiring the knowledge, particularly in the case of fixing a car or something, and be prepared to put that effort in, buy the maintenance manuals or those sorts of things. And you've got to go online and get it downloaded, putting in that time and effort and emphasis, and you can get the things you need without having to buy new, without having to go into debt, and without having to create situations where your cash flow is squeezed. Now, these people I was mentioning earlier on, because the interest rates have gone up quite a bit from the low they were a few years ago, they're now in dire straits, and nor can they sell out of anything. If they sell their house, that they'd be lucky to have $150,000 cash in their pocket. If they got rid of one of the cars and maybe bought a shit box or something, but and so on. But neither of them are handy. Neither of them really want to do those sorts of things. But I think this sort of needing to get stuff that people are throwing out and repair it and use it and make some sort of practical use of it without having to buy new. I think that is going to be much more of the future than we realise, and those who are capable of living that way can still, I think, be able to maintain some sort of quality of life with the things they need without having to go into debt or having to go without altogether. One of the things that always intrigued me as I went around the third world when I first started business traveling was how everything is jerry-rigged and hardly anything goes to waste. How they'll the backyard welding shops so say even a tire lever, for example, they'll weld, if they break it, they'll weld two bits together to keep the thing going. Everything is jerry-rigged, everything is repaired, everything is sort of thrown together to try and get just that little bit extra use out of it, whether it's a piece of sheet metal that's half rusted goes onto a roof or something, to cover a hole where the rain comes in, and so on. And it's interesting to see how much the West is starting to go along that same trajectory as I was seeing it. Because at the time I first went to the third world, that was 30 plus years ago, and 40 years ago, getting up for 40 years ago. And when I first started traveling, and that was when in Australia, at least, in first world countries, if you wanted something, you just went to the shop and bought it. The idea that you'd buy used or second hand or go to a charity shop or something, that was just, nobody did that sort of thing, or only the poor people did it. It was something that it was unthinkable in the class of people that I was around with. But now I see that the situation has changed, and the cost of living and the reality of the cost of living is out of alignment with the aspirational requirements of the entitled people. And that's creating some schisms within society that are going to have to work their way through. Being Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.